Welcome to the Tuesday, April 1st. April 1st. It's April Fool's Day all day long, isn't it? I hope y'all have had fun today with that. It's the meeting of the Hot Springs Board of Directors. Tonight, our invocation will be given by Mrs. Paula Childs and followed by our Pledge of Allegiance. Would you please stand with me?
Heavenly Father, we're so thankful that you have good plans for our city, and we're thankful that tonight that we can ask you for wisdom and that you will give it to each one of these men and women as they discuss and make decisions for our city. We pray these things in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen.
I pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I hereby call this meeting to order. Would you please call the roll?
Yes. Davidson.
Here.
Jones.
Here.
Clark.
Here.
McCabe.
Here.
Garcia.
Here.
Foley.
Here.
Carney.
Here. Okay. The first item of business is to consider the approval of the agenda. Are there any corrections, additions, deletions, or modifications to the agenda, including any items to be removed from the consent agenda?
May I so move?
Okay, wait a minute. Hearing none, do I have a motion to approve the agenda? Yes, she did. Do we have a
Yes.
second?
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? No. The motion is adopted. The next item of business is the approval of the minutes of the board meeting. Are there any, which was held on March 18th? Are there any corrections, additions, deletions, or modifications to the minutes? I had a little one. Did that get tweaked without going through this? It was just a word.
Right. Ms. Kaufman corrected that.
Okay. All right. Everything looks good. All in favor of the minutes, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? No? Okay. Please, everybody said aye, didn't they?
Yeah.
We don't have to call a roll on that one. Okay, the motion is adopted. In an effort to afford each and everyone an equal opportunity to address the items on tonight's agenda, I ask that our citizens and guests adhere to a 3-minute limit on your comments. And for your convenience, we will display a clock timer in the monitors, and we will also have a beeper up here. And while members of the board may have questions of the speakers, I ask that any general comments be reserved for the board discussion after all the speakers have been heard. We also ask that all cell phones be silenced during our meeting, and please refrain from any disruptions of the meeting. And should you need to leave prior to the closing of the meeting, we ask that you do so quietly while we are still carrying on business. Thank you so much, every one of you, for being here, and we appreciate your interest in our city. At this time, we have lots of guests to be recognized, so I think we'll just cancel the meeting and greet guests. I have a lot of proclamations tonight, and we want to thank all of you for coming. The first one is a part of the Mayor's Day of Recognition of Service. It's an international, or it's a national. I guess we're just mayors in the United States of America, right? That's national. Mayor's Proclamation for Service. And we have quite a few that are here. I'd like to read their names, and then I will present the proclamations after I have read the names. Wait a minute. Okay. I am going to read the proclamation first, and then the names, and then you come up. Whereas service to others is a hallmark of the American character and central to how we meet our challenges, and whereas the nation's mayors are increasingly turning to national service and volunteerism as a cost-effective strategy to meet city needs, and whereas participants address the most pressing challenges facing our cities and nations, from educating students for jobs of the 21st century and supporting veterans and military families to providing health services and helping communities recover from national disasters. And whereas national service expands economic opportunity by creating more sustainable I know what the word is. Communities and providing education, career skills, and leadership abilities for those who serve. Sometimes my brain goes the other way. And whereas national service participants demonstrate commitment, dedication, and patriotism by making an intensive commitment to serve, a commitment that remains with them in their future endeavors. And whereas the Corporation of the National and Community Service shares a priority with mayors nationwide to encourage citizens, improve lives, and strengthen communities. And in joining with the National League of Cities, City of Service, and the mayors across the country to recognize the impact of service on the Mayor's Day of Recognition for National Service on April the 1st, 2014. Therefore, be it resolved that I, Ruth Carney, Mayor of the Hot Springs, do hereby proclaim April 1, 2014 as National Service Recognition Day in Hot Springs, Arkansas, and encourage residents to recognize the positive impact of national service in our city and thank those who serve, and to find ways to give back to their communities. In witness whereof I have hereto set my hand and caused the seal of the city to be affixed on this first day of April in the year of our Lord 2014. And these are for volunteers that we have, and there are hundreds more in our city. We didn't have time to invite all of them in, but these are for adoptive grandparents that go to the schools in different areas and mentor children. And so we have from the CSO Head Start, Lily Burns. Would y'all come as I call your name, just come up, and that way we'll know who you are. Lily Burns and Shirley Burns and Judy Butler, Leontine Crutchfield, Brenda Lane, Sarah Machorn, and just stand right there. We'll get with you when everybody comes up. We're going to take a picture. Arminter Moon, Jamela Petty, Princess Woods, Desiree Wyrick, and from Langston Magnet School we have Joyce Barron, and from Oaklawn Magnet School we have Beatrice Crossland, age 98.
Wow.
And Gladys Tucker, and Carolyn Eccles, and Dorothy Ward, and Eliza Jordan. And let's just give them a hand. I want each of you to have your own proclamation so you can hang it on your wall at home. We appreciate you so much. Thank you for being here. Thank you for serving our children in our city. I went today and met with her at Head Start, and she's in a classroom. I read a book to her kids. And we have some that are not here, I guess. Thank you so much. And we have a national service works for the city of Hot Springs, Arkansas. Let me pull in let's come this way just a little bit. Come this way. And then I'll pull in right here. There we go. Get that up here.
Ladies, would you pull in just a little bit tighter? Oops.
Sure.
That's perfect. That's just fine. And one more, please.
Oh, yeah, over and under is probably 9:10.
We'll get the rest of those delivered. Okay. And next we have this on the proclamation recognizing Junior Auxiliary. I would have you ladies go ahead and come up and stand behind the little podium there. I'll read this and then I'll give you a chance. And there's Mandy. I'll give her a chance to tell us what this is all about also, or give a plug for Junior Auxiliary. Whereas Junior Auxiliary of Hot Springs, Arkansas, a chapter of the 73-year-old National Association of Junior Auxiliaries Incorporated, represents a serious endeavor on the part of women to be active and constructive participants in the community and to assume reasonable leadership in meeting community needs. And whereas the mission of the National Association of Junior Auxiliaries is to encourage member chapters to render charitable service which are beneficial to the general public with particular emphasis on children, and to cooperate with other organizations performing similar services. And whereas the Junior Auxiliary of Hot Springs, Arkansas works actively to perform the mission of the National Association of Junior Auxiliaries in this community, and we appreciate its efforts. Now, therefore, I, Ruth Carney, Mayor of the City of Hot Springs, Arkansas, on behalf of the Board of Directors, do hereby proclaim the week April 6th through 12th, 2014 as Junior Auxiliary Week in Hot Springs, Arkansas, and encourage all citizens, civic and fraternal groups, news media, and other community organizations to join in the salute to Junior Auxiliary of Hot Springs volunteers who have been an important presence in our community since May the 3rd, 1956. Y'all weren't born then. In witness whereof, I have hereto set my hand and caused the seal of the city to be affixed on this first day of April in the year of our Lord, 2014. Let's give them a hand.
Mayor, if you would be in the middle once again.
Snuck in.
Yeah.
I want you to look at my screen.
She's got screen.
Can't get this to move out the way.
One.
I know it's been like this about 5 months.
Thank you so much. We appreciate it.
Well, thank you, Mayor, and we just appreciate the opportunity to be here this evening. We've got a wonderful group of about 45 women from around the Hot Springs area, the Garland County area, who work hard every single day to serve the service projects that we have around town, including our newest service project that works with the Transitional Youth Program with DHS here in Hot Springs and Garland County. And we feel blessed to have such great relationships with our families and our kids, and we're glad to continue to make an impact on the kids of Garland County. So thank you for the recognition and for having us here this evening.
Thank you. It's awesome. Okay. And now I'm going to, Amy Thomason is not here, but we have Jana Petro, Dawn Utley, and Brenda Richardson. And we're recognizing, I think maybe they're here. Are you here? Yes, come on up. And just come behind the little platform there, and I will read this to you. I saw Amy today, and y'all had a great anniversary. This is for Safe Haven, who has now 1 year. Today. And you're thriving well, and you had your celebration today from 10 till 2, and I finally squeezed in some time to get over there. I will read the proclamation, and then you can speak to us for fill us in. Whereas Safe Haven Shelter opened 1 year ago on April the 1st, 2013, to serve homeless women and children in Hot Springs and all Garland County. And whereas on the first anniversary, over 90 women and children have been provided safe housing, helped to establish independence in health, housing, employment, and all aspects of a productive life. And whereas Safe Haven Shelter for Women and Children partners with agency in Hot Springs and Garland County to locate resources to assist in giving homeless women a hand up, not a handout. And whereas through community partnership, women have been introduced in new ways to accomplish goals and become models for their children as good citizens in our community. Now, therefore, I, Ruth Carney, Mayor of the City of Hot Springs, on behalf of the Board of Directors, do hereby this day of April 1, 2014, declare Safe Haven Day in Hot Springs, Arkansas, in recognition of these three young women, and call upon our citizens to recognize the importance of whoa, it was the wrong bottom part. We'll reword that and get it to you. That was Sports Day. I think she flipped you over there. So we'll stick with the first part, that's Safe Haven. The bottom part, you can do athletic, all kinds of things. In witness where I have hereto set my hand and caused the seal of the city to be affixed on the first day of April in the year of our Lord, 2014. I will present this to you, but we'll take it back.
Okay.
But that's what it was.
Mayor, you have 7 more to do. April Fool's coming.
Did you put those? Okay. Which ones were those? Okay. All right. And this is a real fun one for me because of, I just appreciate what can you imagine what our city would be like without volunteers? It's amazing. And we just love all of you so much. You make our city happen. And as I was sitting in court a lot of time with CASA, court-appointed special advocates, I would sit there and watch the cases over and over of abused and abandoned children and think half the city has no clue what's going on in this town. And I just appreciate those of you who work with that. And this is for acknowledging Child Abuse Prevention Month. And would you please come forward? And I know your name, but it's not written down. And here's
Janice
my brain dead.
McCutcheon.
I know. She does awesome. She meets with us also on our human trafficking task force. And we've got a lot of people that come together to make a lot of things happen. I'll read this and then we'll present it to you. Hopefully the bottom part's right. Whereas child maltreatment is a national tragedy cutting across racial, ethnic, and socioeconomic boundaries and endangering our most precious resource and greatest responsibility, our children. And whereas approximately 3 million children are reported abused and neglected in this country each year, and the Arkansas Department of Human Services reports that 8,834 child abuse complaints have been found to be valid just this last year alone. And whereas child abuse violates a child's dignity, security, vulnerability, and humanity, children have the right to feel safe in their own homes and to be provided every opportunity to learn, grow, and thrive. And whereas we must join together as individuals, organizations, and government agencies to prevent child abuse in our state by providing education, skills, training, and support, and by raising awareness of relevant topics, including child development, basic care skills, discipline strategies, and goal setting for parents. And whereas by strengthening families and providing safe, stable, nurturing environments that are free from violence, abuse, and neglect, we will secure a future whereby the needs of children are met. Now, therefore, I, Ruth Carney, Mayor of the City of Hot Springs, on behalf of the Board of Directors, do hereby proclaim the month April 2014 as Child Abuse Prevention Month in Hot Springs, Arkansas, and urge all citizens to increase their participation and support of families and to work toward the prevention of child abuse and neglect. In witness whereof, I have hereto set my hand and caused the seal of the city to be affixed on this first day of April in the year of our Lord, 2014. And I would like for you, I'll bring it down as soon as you tell us what you're doing and what's coming up and the event that you're having. Is it next week?
Actually, it's this Friday.
This Friday.
Thank you, Mayor, for having me and Board of Directors. Yes, this Friday we're having our child abuse rally, and this issue is definitely devastating for children, and I always say we're the front line of hope and offered kids that restoration and that hope that they can have for their future with the center and the services that we provide. This Friday, though, we also want to celebrate children. And so we're going to have a child abuse rally at our center at 216 Macaulay Court at noon. So that would be April 4th. And the mayor will be there. We'll have several speakers. And we're also going to have a children's choir. And it's just always so beautiful and uplifting to see kids there smiling bright. And then we're going to have pinwheels for every child that's been abused in our county. There'll be a pinwheel, and everybody comes in and stick a pinwheel in the ground and represent these children. But again, it's all about hope.
Thank you so much. We appreciate you. Again, thank all of you for coming. And if you do not want to stay for all the details of the rest of the meeting, you are free to go. But we appreciate your interest in our city. If you want to stay, that's great. But I know that maybe some of you need to go ahead and get home and have dinner or something. Thank you so much. Lance, did you ever find out what the number of volunteers we had? I know we were making out a report on that,
We
America.
sent it to the DHS, and they've tabulated it. I don't have that number
You
with
know,
me, though.
it's way up there, though, isn't it?
It was
for
a
our
lot of
city.
hours, it
Yeah,
was.
a lot of hours for volunteers. We have AmeriCorps and different other things in our city also where people volunteer. Thank you. Okay. The next item of business is our city manager's report.
Well, thank you, Mayor. We all know that this is the time of March Madness, the Final Four. You may not know that there's a Final Four going on between the greatest southern cities. Visit Hot Springs has been on a regular basis reminding us that the vote tonight, the Final Four brackets are being set in gardenandgun.com magazine. And I would really encourage you to go vote because right now we're getting close to being in the championship game with either Asheville or Savannah. But our competition right now is with Franklin, Tennessee, a suburb of Nashville. So please vote. We've already beat some really good competition to get to where we are. But I think in the spirit of community and being proud of where we're from, please go to gardenandgun.com and vote for Hot Springs. Wanted to note that we had a great partnership during the St. Patrick's Day Parade between the A&P and our own sanitation department. The Hot Springs Young Professionals, which we have been introduced to in the last year, it's a program that the Chamber of Commerce is promoting, had 10 volunteers attend the St. Patrick's Day Parade for the sole purpose of picking up recycling or providing recycling bins for all the attendees who were at the parade. And at the end of the parade, they were able to collect over 500 pounds of recycled materials, glass, aluminum, cardboard, and plastic. The total bag count was 40 bags of 55-gallon trash bags. So I want to thank Steve Arison with our A&P and our own Margie Hillestad with the sanitation department for putting that program together. And most importantly, thanking the Hot Springs Young Professionals for providing, like we've acknowledged earlier this evening, volunteer service back to the community. Finally, last night, in this very room, we had the first meeting of the Downtown Task Force, group of 9 individuals, including our own director, Randy Foley, to really get some input from the community about where is our downtown going, what can we do as a community to help facilitate that. I'm pleased to announce that today I was informed that Bob Martirana of the Arlington Hotel and his owner, Monty Scott, have secured the architectural services of David French and Associates to begin the assessment of improvements to one of our unsafe structures, which is not the Arlington Hotel, but a structure that's part of that complex that we know as the Wade Clinic. And so that's the first of 24 that is now being addressed. And I want to compliment Bob for making that happen. And finally, just to talk a little bit about activities going on in the downtown area, or what we call Thermal Basin. I had a call today from the owner of it's a new wedding and reception venue across from the fire station #1 where Cheese Corner was, that I used to go to every day till they closed. But he's redoing that into a venue with that will actually include the former warehouse on I guess that'd be on the northeast side of the building, playing off the park area around Farmers Market and our sculpture Garden. You probably have noticed that Regions Bank is in the process of demolishing their existing building on Broadway, Malvern, and we'll be replacing that with a new bank building which will incorporate all of the modern features of banking. That industry is changing radically, and you'll see a lot more technology in that than you see in any other bank in town. Finally, we had a meeting yesterday with the purchasers of the Austin Hotel. They're going to be closing on that property in June. They plan about a $20 million purchase, renovation, addition to that hotel. We've been working with Mr. Gary Gibbs of Franklin, Tennessee. Hope he votes for us, to make that happen. And I think it just shows that in spite of what you read, we have a lot of good things going on in downtown, and I think we're making a lot of progress, and I think this board has given a very clear signal that downtown redevelopment is our top priority. That's all I have.
And I might add to that there's at least 7 other property owners who have secured the services of Rico Harris Architect to come,
Good.
and they've been working with them. So they've already got started on that. Okay, the next item of business is announcements concerning upcoming events, and I want to just tell you about the Arkansas College Basketball All-Star Weekend this weekend at the Convention Center, and there are all-stars coming from all over. They have alumni that have been in Arkansas that are in other colleges in other states from Oklahoma, Kansas, Utah. They're all coming in to play the All-Star game, and then they have a lot of the former, I forgot who they are because I wasn't here, top basketball players from the University of Arkansas, and they'll have an alumni game that evening. I think it starts around 3:30 in the afternoon with girls' games, and it ends at night with a great all-star basketball game from all of the brand name people that you guys probably know, but I wasn't in Arkansas to know them all. So they will be there, and that's this weekend on Saturday. And do we have any other upcoming events?
I do.
Yes, ma'am.
Excuse me.
Go ahead.
On Saturday, Mayor, at the Boys Club, my club, the Entrepreneurs Club, will be hosting a fundraiser for them, which we do every year. And on Thursday night at Webb Center, there's going to be a voter question ID questionnaire deal going on where anybody can find out if they need their driver's license or if they need their voter registration. This is very, very important because it's time for people to start going to the polls, and they need to know what they need to have in order to vote. Thank you, ma'am.
Yes.
Go ahead, Karen.
Thank you, Mayor. I'd like to invite you to a community meeting on Thursday, day after tomorrow, on April 3rd at 4:30 p.m. at the Forest Lakes Clubhouse that is located at 230 Forest Lakes Boulevard. And the Red Cross will be providing a presentation on disaster preparedness and disaster recovery. Today's April 1st. And we're getting into tornado season. We know what happened here a couple of years ago, and it's good to be prepared and to know what to do. And they will have other information for other disasters as well, but wanted to invite the public to participate. Thank you.
Thank you.
Mayor, I know this is reserved for upcoming events, but I went to an event today that, while it would seem that it was finished today, it is just the beginning of welcoming the new St. Joseph's to be St. Vincent's Hot Springs Hospital. Our largest employer, the Sisters of Mercy Health System and Catholic Health Initiatives are all in agreement that the transfer of the old St. Joe's Mercy Hospital will now be one of St. Francis. And for those of you who have ever gone through a transition, you realize this is not a single-day event. This is a several-year event of transition and getting used to change. I think it's exciting. For those of you who know me, you know that I've worked for St. Joseph's for about 18 years, and I have had difficulty refraining from speaking publicly on the change of ownership, and I am excited with the quality of the new organization with St. Vincent's coming to town. It provides competition for the community, so people still have a choice, and it continues to embrace a faith-based initiative for health care, which is always good in a not-for-profit setting for the community because all of the money comes back to the community. And also, Mercy has, you heard the award given to Janice McCutcheon at the Cooper Anthony Child Advocacy Center. Mercy, the Sisters of Mercy will continue to fund that initiative. So for those of you who are so inclined, you are free to donate to the Cooper Anthony Mercy Child Advocacy Center. I think it's a great arrival of our largest employer in town.
They've already changed the sign today.
Pardon me?
They've already changed the sign.
That's great.
Yeah, they're fast on that.
Good news.
Yeah. Okay. There was a large crowd there today. It was really great. And to hear the different ones speak, that's good for our community. Okay, anyone else?
Yes, ma'am. Please, thank you. This is a little early announcement of an arts festival that's going to be held May 17th and 18th in the area. It is being sponsored by the newer Hot Springs Area Cultural Alliance, which has taken the nonprofit status of the older ACT that used to do the Arts in the Park Festival. It's going to be May 17th and 18th, and my part in it is I'm organizing an artist studio tour, much like the Caddo River Valley Artist Tour in Arkadelphia that's on its 8th year. And this year they had people from 27 states and 8 different countries and something over 500-600 visitors. We expect more. But it's to celebrate arts and the artists that we have in the Hot Springs area, and I'm putting out a call. If you haven't heard from me yet via Facebook or other opportunities, if you know of an artist that would like to open their studio on May 17th from 9 to 4, they can contact me. My contact information is on the website. And I know we had voted, or we had talked at the agenda meeting about the pop-up on Park. And they had a meeting Saturday, and I've seen a couple of different things about it, but I don't know what their finalization is. So hopefully there'll be some people here that will let you know what's happening. Thank you.
Anything else? Do you have any upcoming events? That's good.
None that I can disclose, Mayor. Thank you.
You'd have to kill us. Okay. The next... can take that all kinds of ways. The next item of business is to consider the consent agenda, and items in this section are of a routine nature and will be considered as one item of business without discussion. I will now entertain a motion to adopt the consent agenda.
I so move.
Is there a second?
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Would you please call the roll?
Yes. Jones.
Aye.
Clark.
Aye.
McCabe.
Aye.
Garcia.
Aye.
Foley.
Aye.
Davidson.
Aye.
Carney.
Aye.
Adopted.
Okay, it is adopted. And the next item of business is to consider resolution number R 1436. Council, would you please read the resolution by title?
Resolution R 1436, a resolution renaming Whittington City Park to Hot Springs Baseball Trail Park. That concludes your reading, Mayor. If you now entertain a motion and second to adopt and have discussion, if any.
Do I have a motion?
So moved.
And a second. Okay, and discussion is from...
Thank you, Mayor and Board of Directors. Jean Wallace, Hot Springs Parks and Recreation Director. The recommendation from staff is to rename Whittington City Park to Baseball Trail Park. A little bit of discussion. In November of 2013, the Whittington Valley Neighborhood Association made a presentation to the Parks and Recreation Advisory Committee and requested them to recommend to you all to change the name of Whittington City Park because of the confusion with Whittington National Park. After much discussion, the advisory committee agreed that having two parks with the same name was confusing, and they selected Baseball Trail Park as a possible new name. Steve Arison spoke in favor of the change and pointed out that it would be fitting with the recently installed baseball trail historic markers. Since the Whittington Valley was rich in baseball history, the name change would also be attractive to tourists who follow these markers around town. Since the city has a park naming policy, which you all approved several years ago, we reviewed the criteria and published the proposed name change in the Sentinel Record twice in 2 months to allow a 60-day public comment period. In total, 6 letters of support were received for the name change, including one from the National Park Service.
Okay, thank you. And we have one person signed up to talk to that. Then we'll be on our way.
Play ball.
Good evening, Mayor, members of the Board of Directors. My name is Mark Toth. I'm president of the Whittington Valley Neighborhood Association. I'm here to ask you to, of course, approve the name change. This came about as a result of a problem that we didn't really realize how to solve at the time. We had 2 parks in the valley, both named Whittington Park. People were going to the wrong park or having picnics in one and they don't arrive and so forth. And it was Pat Watson in the city engineering department who said, I was down there and we were working on sidewalks and talking about the different parks. And he says, Mark, you've got 2 parks named Whittington. It's confusing. Have you thought about getting them changed? And from that comes this proposal. So I hope you will approve it. And I want to thank Jean Wallace for her help and support, Steve Arison for his help and support. He's agreed that if the name change is put in place, they're going to put one of those historic markers up at the park. I want to thank the Parks Advisory Committee, Josie Fernandez, who's been a big support of this, and of course the members of the Neighborhood Association. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, any discussion? Any have questions? No? I have spent time sitting at the wrong park myself, waiting on somebody who never arrived. Okay. Hearing no further discussion, would you please call the roll?
Yes. Foley.
Aye.
Davidson.
Aye.
Jones.
Aye.
Clark.
Aye.
McCabe.
Aye.
Garcia.
Aye.
Carney.
Aye.
Adopted.
It is adopted. The next item of business is to consider resolution number R1437. Council, would you please read the resolution by title?
Resolution R1437, a resolution approving a bid to TG Excavating for manhole rehab Phase 3 and 4 projects. That concludes your reading, Mayor.
Okay.
Good evening, Mayor.
If you would entertain a motion second to adopt and have discussion opinion.
Yes. We have.
Sorry.
May I have a motion to
so
adopt
moved.
and a second?
Second.
Now discussion.
Good evening
Yes.
again, Mayor, Board of Directors. This project is a continuing phase in our efforts to achieve compliance with the mandate established by the CAO. This particular project, in its continuation, is the 3rd and 4th phase. The 1st and 2nd phase of this is what yielded, in our opinion, the greatest results. So this involves everything from simply changing a lid to replacing an entire manhole. So a lot of work. We have no experience with this particular contractor. I will tell you that. I'll also tell you we didn't with the last one. And I think we all saw the performance of the last one. And these guys, even from a local contractor I spoke to, said you guys have made a good decision here. So these guys are very good at what they do. They do it well. They do it once and they move on. Any questions?
Even though the city itself had not had experience, our engineer for this project has.
Yes, and they have experience in Arkansas,
And they had very good feedback on them. Is
Very
that
good.
correct?
They came highly recommended.
Yes. Thank you.
Okay, we have no one signed up. Do you have any other discussion, any questions? Okay. Thank you so much.
It's okay, I'm going to stand here. I think I'm the next two.
Oh, you are the next one too? Okay. Mr. Carnahan went away and left him here.
It's hard for him to get
Yes.
up and down. He's an old man.
Okay.
So.
Okay.
He's hurt.
Hearing no further discussion, would you please call the roll?
Yes. Garcia.
Aye.
Foley.
Aye.
Davidson.
Aye.
Jones.
Aye.
Clark.
Aye.
McCabe.
Aye.
Carney.
Aye. It is adopted. So the next item of business is consider resolution number R1438. Council, would you please read the resolution by title?
Resolution R1438, a resolution approving a bid to Environmental Processes Systems for installation of a new tertiary filter at the Southwest Wastewater Treatment Plant facility. That concludes your reading, Mayor. If you now entertain a motion and second to adopt and have discussion, if any.
Do I have a motion to adopt?
So move.
We have two of those. We have a second?
Second.
Okay. And discussion?
Discussion.
Yeah.
This is our facility in the western part of the county. It was commissioned in 2008, and we commissioned it at that time with some preset capacity data that we wanted to achieve. We have since found that we can increase and we can also manage better upset events at the plant if we provide for ourselves some system redundancy. This particular piece of equipment is one of the last lines of defense for us in achieving the NPDES permit compliance. So it's very critical to us. This enables us to not only maintain operation during high storm events, it's also great to have a piece of equipment you can take offline, do needed repairs or maintenance to one, and never interrupt the operations. I should also mention that this project, along with the previous and the next, are all funded by the 2014 bond initiative.
Let's get those signs up.
Yes, I'm working on those, I promise. If you let me hear.
Do you have any questions?
Larry, for
Discussion?
the members of the board who may not have been privy to this type of system when it was put in 2008, can you give them a brief description of the differences between this type of system and the one that we have on Davidson Drive, the way that the tertiary filters and...
I'll give it a shot. This is a sequential batch reactor process. This process is completely different from what we have at our regional facility, which is much larger. This is more, I should say, advanced in technology. It's much easier to operate. It requires a lot less interaction from a human. Most of the systems out there are automated. We receive alarms on all of it. It is for me, it's a cleaner process. You don't have the odor that you typically have. It is, again, very simple in nature, but very effective for treating. And it is something that you see most facilities going to, when cities or communities begin to develop and they want wastewater. This is one of the first items they look at. This technology is very good, it's very proven, and it has been very good for us.
Okay.
That wasn't very technical, but if I get technical, I'm going to be here for 20 minutes.
And we wouldn't understand anyway. Thank you. Okay, any other questions for Larry? Okay, hearing no further discussion, would you please call the roll?
Yes. McCabe.
Aye.
Garcia.
Aye.
Folly.
Aye.
Davidson.
Aye.
Jones.
Aye.
Clark.
Aye.
Carney.
Aye.
Adopted.
It is adopted. You're still here. The next item of business is consider resolution number R1439. Council, would you please read the resolution by title?
Resolution R1439, a resolution approving a bid to Boyles Construction for the Hogan Force Main Replacement Project. That concludes your reading, Mayor. If you now entertain a motion to second to adopt and have discussion, if any.
Okay, do I have a motion to adopt?
So moved.
And a second?
Second.
Thank you. Discussion again.
Okay, discussion. This is a staff request based on repair overflow occurrences associated with this 32-year-old main. When this main was installed, they used a material that we still use called ductile iron, but at that time it was unlined. As you know, wastewater produces hydrogen sulfide gas. It completely degrades piping, especially those with any kind of steel or metallic base to it. This main is literally falling in on itself in certain places. This project will not only realign it and get it off of the bypass, which is critical. We don't want to be out playing in traffic lanes. This will shorten the route, and this will give to us the ability to increase the life cycle of this for many, many years, much further than what we have experienced in this 32 years.
Okay. Any questions?
For some of the people in the public, can you describe where this area is?
Yes, ma'am. The Hogan Station, where we'll start this project, it will originate and be implemented from the Hogan Station at Lake Shore and 70, right there as you get to the bypass. There's a vacant lot on the left, I think, now. And it will travel along a property boundary between Lake Shore and the bypass for some distance to John Duncan Road. At John Duncan, we'll continue back down John Duncan south. We'll get on Lake Shore, and then we'll continue along the edge of Lake Shore to Stokes Pump Station, which is right there at Mr. Young's RV Park at McLeod Street.
Yes. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Okay, any other questions? Okay, hearing no further discussion, would you please call the roll?
Yes. Clark.
Aye.
McCabe.
Aye.
Garcia.
Aye.
Folly.
Aye.
Davidson.
Aye.
Jones.
Aye.
Carney.
Aye.
Adopted.
It is adopted.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, the next item of business is to consider ordinance number 01420. I will entertain a motion to suspend the rules and read by title only. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
And a second?
Second.
Okay. I have a motion and a second to suspend the rules and read by title only. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Council, would you please read the ordinance by title?
Ordinance 01420, an ordinance amending ordinance number 5747 of the City of Hot Springs, Arkansas, and prescribing other matters related pertaining thereto. That concludes your reading, Mayor. If you not entertain a motion and a second to adopt and have discussion, if any.
Do I have a motion to adopt?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, and we have discussion. Doretha.
Thank you. I'm Doretha Yates, Finance Director and Treasurer for the City of Hot Springs. The item before you
Would you pull
tonight
your
has-
mic down so I can hear you better? Just pull it over closer to you. There you
Okay.
now.
Thank you. The item before you tonight has to do with the 2010A Water Bond Series. This bond series was obviously issued in 2010. It was issued through the Arkansas Natural Resource Commission and was funded through ADFA, Arkansas Development Finance Authority funding. We've had several work sessions, and we're getting ready to do a new bond issue in the water fund. And in doing so, we had discussed some improvements that we might make to the structure of our current bond issues that would be beneficial to us, specifically changes to the depreciation fund. The 2003 bond issue and the 2010 A and B, all of the depreciation funding requirements are the same. They require 5% of our operating revenues be set aside in the depreciation fund. And the language wasn't real clear on the amount of money that had to accrue. Currently, we have $4.2 million that have accrued, and that money has continued to accrue and will continue to accrue without some clear definition of what it should be. What we asked is to change that amount to 3% from 5% and put a ceiling of $4 million on the amount that's accrued. We went to the to ANRC and ADFA, asked them if they would approve that. They have said yes, that they would accept that amount. And in order to do that and implement it in the 2010 A and B, obviously we need to change the original ordinance that we had, amend that ordinance to incorporate those new provisions. The 2003 bond issue still stands with the old language, but we do plan to repay that and to reissue it. So at that point, then the language would change in that one. But this will take care of the 2010 A and B. We have Ryan Bowman here today from Friday Law Firm. If you have any specific questions, I'm sure that Ryan would be also happy to talk to you about it.
Okay. Do you have any questions for Ryan? We thank you for coming. Appreciate you being here. Okay. No questions for Doretha? No discussion? Understand everything? Okay. Hearing no further discussion, would you please call the roll?
Yes. Jones.
Aye.
Clark.
Aye.
McCabe.
Aye.
Garcia.
Aye.
Folly.
Aye.
Davidson.
Aye.
Carney.
Aye.
Adopted.
It is adopted. Thank you. You have the next one, too? Okay. The next item of business is consider ordinance number 01421. I will entertain a motion to suspend the rules and read by title only.
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
I have a motion and a second to suspend the rules and read by title. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Council, would you please read by title only?
Ordinance 01421, an ordinance amending ordinance number 5766 of the City of Hot Springs, Arkansas, and prescribing other matters pertaining thereto. That concludes your reading. If you now entertain a motion a second to adopt and have discussion, if any.
Okay. Do I have a motion to adopt?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Okay. And discussion again, Mr. Retha.
Everything I just said about the 2010A is the same as 2010B. These were two companion bond issues, and it's the same issue.
Okay. Okay, any questions now? Any discussion? Okay, thank you. Hearing none, would you please call the roll?
Davidson.
Aye.
Jones.
Aye.
Clark.
Aye.
McCabe.
Aye.
Garcia.
Aye.
Foley.
Aye.
Carney.
Aye.
Adopted.
It is adopted. Thank you. And the next item of business is to consider ordinance number 01422. I will entertain a motion to suspend the rules and read by title only.
So moved.
Thank you. Is there a second? Okay, I have a motion and a second to suspend the rules and read by title only. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? No. Okay, council, would you please read the ordinance by title?
Ordinance 01422, an ordinance authorizing amendments to the budget of the City of Hot Springs, Arkansas for year 2013 and for other purposes. That concludes your reading. You've now entertained a motion and a second to adopt and have discussion, if any.
Okay, is there a motion to adopt?
So moved.
In a second. Okay, and more discussion. Doretha.
Thank you, Mayor. This is a annual housekeeping ordinance, and this is the 9th year that I've stood before you and brought this same issue. However, this is probably the smallest set of adjustments I've ever given you. There's 2 adjustments here. It's required that we have a budget that's equal to or greater than our expenses. And after we got through making the entries this year that can be approved by the city manager, there were 2 remaining issues that I needed to bring to you guys for approval. One of them is airport fund. The depreciation was a little bit higher than we thought. And employee wellness fund, our claims this year were higher than we thought they would be. So these 2 adjustments really need to be adopted and approved in order for our budget to be in compliance.
Okay, do we have any questions? Any discussion? Okay, hearing none, would you please call the roll?
Yes. Foley.
Aye.
Davidson.
Aye.
Jones.
Aye.
Clark.
Aye.
McCabe.
Aye.
Garcia.
Aye.
Carney.
Aye.
Adopted.
It is adopted. I want to thank you also, Doretha, for putting our financials online in our packet. That makes it good, interesting reading for a late night. Thank you. The next item of business is to consider ordinance number 01423. I will entertain a motion to suspend the rules and read by title only. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
And a second.
Second.
Okay, thank you. We have a motion and a second to suspend the rules. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, no. Council, would you please read the ordinance by title?
Ordinance 01423, an ordinance waiving the requirements of competitive bidding for certain services related to the operation and maintenance of a flood warning information system through a joint funding contract with the United States Department of the Interior, U.S. Geological Survey, USGS, and for other purposes. That concludes your reading, Mayor. If you now entertain a motion and second to adopt and have discussion, if any.
Do I have a motion to adopt?
So moved.
Is there a second? Okay, we have a motion and a second. And Max, would you have discussion with us?
Yes, thank you. Good evening, everybody. Looked like Kathy wanted to do this for me, which I was kind of excited about. But,
She's
Max
just in
Astilli,
hurry.
Stormwater Manager for the city. We are seeking approval to waive competitive bidding for the contract renewal with USGS for services related to the operation and maintenance of the city's downtown flood warning system. We are also proposing this time to enter into a 5-year agreement with USGS, which will lock in our rates over that 5-year term and also give us a little bit of a benefit when it comes to some federal funding that goes along with this joint funding agreement. This contract does include a cancellation clause within a 60-day written notice from either party, so we're not locked in for that 5 years should funding become unavailable. This system was installed and is maintained solely by the USGS through a joint funding agreement that we came about in 2008. So we've been with them that long and have been very happy with their services. This new agreement also includes the installation of a new stream gauge and rain monitoring system at the bridge on Ridgeway Road. See, I messed it up again, didn't I? Which is known for serious flooding issues. And this will relay information via satellite and phone, just like our other systems. And we'll have a live video camera, just like our station on Whittington, which we found to be really, really beneficial when we're in the Emergency Operations Center. That's really one of our key tools that we use when we make the call to, launch these emergency signals or the sirens, which we have active here very soon. We can justify waiving the bidding simply because there is no other system out there like this. It is solely maintained, owned, and operated by USGS. Anytime there's upgrades or new technology to come out, they implement that without any new charge to us. So it's really user-friendly, maintenance-free for the city. Besides giving us forewarning of possible flooding, we are collecting historical data by the USGS system, along with our storm sewer system map, which I'll be coming to you guys later on, I think the next meeting, to get a contract renewal on another mapping project. We're going to be able to design giant retention or detention facilities one day up in the Music Mountain area in order to really mitigate a lot of the flooding that we have going on. So not only is this system warning us of impending threats of flood, but we're collecting data that's going to be used to help us build these facilities. Another great benefit for this is that it helps us reduce homeowners' flood insurance by 10%. Not just this system, but it adds to our participation in the flood insurance rating system, which does help bring that insurance rate down. The total cost of the 5-year agreement is $360,920, which is divided and paid annually. Our first payment in 2014 will be $69,750, which we do have budgeted in the 2014 stormwater budget. That's it. Any questions?
Do you have any questions?
I have a statement.
Okay, make a statement.
On our computer screen here, the ordinance is misnumbered.
Mm-hmm.
It's 01424, which is actually going to be the next item, so we need to make an adjustment to that. 01423.
Okay. And that's why Kathy got confused.
So that Kathy was right. That's right.
Kathy was right. Okay. It was.
Or someday we'll be looking for rezoning, and we'll be pulling up a flood warning system, or vice versa, looking for flood warning and get a property on Weston Road.
Yeah. Okay. Good point.
Director McCabe is correct. It is right on the agenda. When the ordinance is actually adopted, it will be given a 4-digit number as opposed to a 14-anything.
Mm-hmm.
But yes, you are correct.
So while I'm correct, it really didn't matter. I mean, so duly noted, I guess, right?
I was going to say the same thing.
So let's just keep moving on.
You beat me to it, so I was going to bring it up myself.
Okay.
I thought my being very precise was important, but maybe.
I almost read the wrong one, if that helps.
We've done that before. Okay, do you have any discussion with Max over the system? Okay. Thank you so much. Hearing no further discussion, please call the roll.
Garcia.
Aye.
Foley.
Aye.
Who is this one now?
Davidson.
Aye.
Jones.
Aye.
Clark.
Aye.
McCabe.
Aye.
Carney.
That is right. Yes. Aye.
Adopted.
It is
Thank you.
adopted. Thank you. Okay. Now, the next item of business is to consider ordinance number 01424. I will entertain a motion to suspend the rules and read by title only.
So moved.
Do I have a second? And I have a motion and a second. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? No. Council, would you please read the ordinance by title?
Ordinance 01424, an ordinance approving C3 office neighborhood commercial zoning on 3.24 acres at 261 Weston Road and amending the future land use map to designate the area as commercial enclave and for other purposes. That concludes your reading, Mayor. If you now entertain a motion to second to adopt and have discussion, if any.
Do I have a motion to adopt?
So moved.
And a second. Okay. And discussion.
Thank you very much. This is an appeal by the owner of the property, Tim Winston. This is an unusual appeal. He's not really appealing Planning Commission's 4-2 motion to approve his project. He must appeal to you to get this item before you because Planning Commission is required to have 5 affirmative votes on an ordinance item such as this. In brief, this is 3.24 acres at 261 Weston Road. It's contiguous to Martin Luther King Jr. Expressway. It's access from Weston Road. It's access from Albert Pike Road. It's currently zoned R2, suburban residential. The future land use map designation is residential low density. And I as I point out on all of these, that is also the zoning and future land use map designation of the Martin Luther King Jr. Expressway itself. Mr. Winston provided a very clear appeal on his 4 points, among which the most important, I think, were 2 things. One, that there were 3 members of Planning Commission absent the night his project was there. Someone asked me at the agenda meeting, would the vote have been different if everyone was there? I have had one planning commissioner come to me and say that had he been there, his vote would have been in the affirmative. So I want to pass that on to you. And the second thing brought up by Mr. Winston's appeal was that this project, if approved, will generate thousands of dollars in sales tax annually to the city and will also, during the period of 6-month construction, provide employment for dozens of families. So I want to pass that along to you, too. This is next to the Entergy facility on Weston Road. A former Tri-Lakes processing plant is west across Weston Road. Hot Springs Baptist Church occupies a large site in that white area on the map to the north and west. And this is an area that, although zoned for residential, is very unlikely to develop in that fashion. The staff's finding to Planning Commission is that the applicant has successfully demonstrated that the standards for favorable consideration have been met, establishing a basis for recommendation to the Board of Directors that the proposed change demonstrates compatibility with surrounding development and zoning, and that development of the expressway is a significant change in surrounding physical conditions, rendering future single-family residential use unlikely. And you'll recall that a substantial change in physical conditions is one of the standards for a zone change. The staff recommended to Planning Commission that this application be approved. Planning Commission advertised and held a hearing on February 13th to consider C3 office neighborhood commercial zoning with commercial enclave future land use plan map designation for the reasons in the findings to Planning Commission. Planning Commission voted 4-2 with Commissioners Rainey and Morey voting against it. Their reason was vehicle access and compatibility with land uses and the future land use designation. Otherwise, the 4 voting accepted the findings of the staff report and recommended approval to the board. That concludes the presentation.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Winston, did you want to talk to us or just watching?
You have to answer any questions y'all have. I think she did a great job.
Yeah, she did.
Steps.
Yeah.
90 days later.
Thank you. Okay, do you have any questions as board members? Any, everybody's clear, understand? We have the packet. Okay. Hearing no further discussion, would you please call the roll?
Yes. McCabe.
Aye.
Garcia.
Aye.
Foley.
Aye.
Davidson.
Aye.
Jones.
Aye.
Clark.
Aye.
Carney.
Aye. It is adopted. Thank you. You want to say thanks?
Thank y'all. And this is how we develop Garland County in Hot Springs. Thank you.
Mr. Winston, I just want to take a minute to recognize you for the good job that you've done in District 6. There was a concern of one of the residents right off of Malvern Avenue, and you took care of it promptly. And I just want to express my appreciation to you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. Thank you. Okay, the next, we have one more, 2 more. Oh, wow. The next item of business to consider ordinance number 01425. I will entertain a motion to suspend the rules and read by title only.
So moved.
And a second?
Second.
I have a motion and a second to suspend the rules and read by title. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, no. Okay, council, would you please read the ordinance by title?
Ordinance 01425, an ordinance amending the Hot Springs Code, Title 16, Chapter 5, the sign code, by providing exemption for temporary signs until October 1, 2014. That concludes your reading. You've now entertained a motion and a second to adopt and have discussion, if any.
Do I have a motion to adopt and a second?
Second.
Discussion again.
Thank you, Mayor. This is a request for a temporary action on our sign code. The Hot Springs Code prohibits temporary signs or banners except under certain conditions. These conditions have been questioned and disliked by a number of different types of businesses in Hot Springs, and most recently, the Hot Springs new car dealers met and asked if the city would please take another look at temporary signs. Car dealers have needs to put up signs that create attention-getting, and they believe that the existing code prevents them from doing things that are necessary to stimulate business. Also, some time ago, the board directed the staff to review and revise provisions of the sign code, including but not limited to temporary signs and banners. And that review was to be done following resolution of the planning area study, which was concluded late in 2013. So Planning Commission has started this project, but in the meantime is interested in seeing what would happen if these provisions of the sign code were excluded from regulation during a 6-month period that would end October 1st. And specifically, the areas of the code that would be out of the code for that 6-month period would be these. A provision that only one temporary sign per business can be placed, that sign can only be placed during a 30-day period, and that there can be no more than 3 of those 30-day periods per calendar year. And there has to be 30 days between each of those permitted periods. So that is being requested as something to be excluded from regulation temporarily. The next item, and there are only 3, is that a permit is required for each of those temporary signs. Each time the sign goes up, a permit is issued and a fee is paid. We are suggesting, Planning Commission is suggesting to you that that temporary sign permit and fee be waived during this 6-month period. And the other item is that there would not be a prohibition on banners and other types of flexible temporary signs being displayed other than when it's affixed to a building. Now, you can have a banner, but it must be fastened to a building and ends up looking not like a banner. It's just a piece of sign that's attached to a building. So those are the 3 things that would be different over the next 6 months. And this is kind of a lab experiment for Planning Commission to see if those particular pieces of regulation were not in effect, what would be the outcome. Planning Commission's goal is to get to you a revised sign code, including new, if warranted, new language that covers banners and other temporary signs. Their goal is to get that to you in late summer so that you can have the benefit of a review period there and get something adopted prior to the end of the October 1st period. And if something is adopted prior to that, then with that adoption, this temporary period would be cleared away. That's it. Planning Commission recommends approval. It was a 5-1 vote. Commissioner McGrew voted against it. The meeting that they did that was March 13th, and they are recommending that you approve the ordinance that is before you tonight. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. Do we have any questions? Yes. Kathy.
I have a question. Other than the auto dealers, what other businesses or types businesses were the complaints from?
Tax preparation businesses, they only have maybe a 3.5 or 4 month business term. A sign that has to be 30 days on, 30 days off really doesn't work for a business that only has a 4-month season. That would be the most obvious one. There are many others as well.
Kathy, does this affect the downtown businesses at all with their advertising? Do you know of?
It could affect some that are not otherwise regulated by CBID or by historic district regulations.
Okay, so CBID takes precedent over the city ordinance?
Yes.
Is that correct?
Yeah. Yes.
Okay, thank you.
I've talked to no less than one business that utilizes these type of signs, and they were very appreciative of this temporary action and hoping that this temporary action will become a permanent action in the future.
Okay. Any other questions for Kathy or discussion? Hearing none, would you please call the roll?
Yes. Garcia.
Aye.
Foley.
Aye.
Davidson.
Aye.
Jones.
Aye.
Clark.
Aye.
McCabe.
Aye.
Carney.
Aye. It is adopted. Okay, the next item of business is to consider ordinance number 01426. I will entertain a motion to suspend the rules and read by title only. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
And a second? Okay, y'all are good now. I have a motion and a second to suspend the rules. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, council, would you please read the ordinance by title?
Ordinance 01426, an ordinance amending the subdivision code of the City of Hot Springs, Arkansas. Ordinance 5715, as amended, to rescind planning area policies and for other purposes. That concludes your reading. You now entertain the motion and a second to adopt and have discussion, if any.
Okay, do I have a motion to adopt?
So moved.
And a second? Okay, and Ms. Selman again.
Thank you, Mayor. First of all, this ordinance proposes no change at all to the planning area boundary. Where you put it in August is still where it is, and this proposes no change to that. As adopted, Ordinance 5957, which did adopt the planning area boundary and policies, included a policy statement that was developed in anticipation of adopting the boundary itself. And specifically, it was for use in evaluating the 4 proposed boundary alternatives. The planning area boundary adopted on August 20th of 2013 stands on its own without the need for codified policies, and this is a request to rescind the policies. Their useful life has expired, and so the finding is that you have adopted a planning area map consistent with state requirements. Those state requirements are that we have a boundary map. The planning area boundary map remains the same. The policies have no further utility at this time. So the recommendation is that you adopt the ordinance.
Okay. Do we have any discussion? Any questions for Ms. Selman? Okay, hearing none, would you please call the roll?
Yes. Jones.
Aye.
Clark.
Aye.
McCabe.
Aye.
Garcia.
Aye.
Foley.
Aye.
Davidson.
Aye.
Carney.
Aye.
Adopted.
It is adopted. Thank you. Okay, that concludes the business section of tonight's business. And are there any comments that the Board of Directors need to make? Yes, sir.
Thank you, Mayor. I would like to just take a minute to compliment the work of Doretha and the City Manager, David Watkins, and Bill Burrows in negotiating the new water bond issues. For the public, I think they need to know that when we sell bond issues, that the underwriter of that bond attempts to get the most stringent requirements they can for funding, which eventually results in rate increases for ratepayers. And by getting these depreciation amounts reduced, they actually save the ratepayers quite a bit of money. So thank you for your work on that. And also for Max Astilli, you know, the public thinks that we just go and spend money, but to implement projects that are actually going to affect our citizens by getting insurance rate reductions, I think that speaks well for our staff in paying attention to our community. Thank you.
Okay.
Mayor,
Thank you, Mayor.
I would like to thank Jean Wallace for all the work that was done. I know she didn't do it all by herself, but a lot of work was seen in the rain the other morning. You were there getting wet at the skateboard park, and I've seen a few kids in the store, and they are so excited.
They are.
About having that park. So thank you, Jean. I think she went home, went to bed.
Yeah, I think some of the adults were excited too.
Oh, well, they use it.
Yeah,
the
they do.
adults use it.
Yeah. Okay, and Director Garcia.
Yes, a couple items. I too wanted to recognize and thank Mr. Winston for his volunteer work since we've made recognition, and even work to help those that needed work done to their property to meet code, and has volunteered for elderly and for low-income people and helping them. And thank you for everything that you do, that you help people in the community. And also to ask the community to look at what they would like to volunteer for 23 openings that we have on city advisory committees and commissions. I believe there's 23 current openings. The applications are on the website, and there are varied number of types of committees and commissions. So please look at what you would be interested in and apply for one of those committees. Thank you.
You have something? You're
Do I
just
have
exercising your hand.
Oh, I don't know. I can always make something up. Yeah, I have a water temperature report for Lake Hamilton. Last year and this year on April 1st, and it had nothing to do with April Fools, I put on a wetsuit and jump in Lake Hamilton because I have an upcoming triathlon event. And this year I had a young lady join me, Dr. Chris Young's daughter, Megan Young, joined me. And we swam in Lake Hamilton, and Megan wanted me to share with you her assessment of the water temperature. She said it was very, very cold. So for those of you who do not have wetsuits, I probably wouldn't be swimming in Lake Hamilton anytime soon.
They heated wetsuits.
But the top quarter inch was warm, but we couldn't stay in that zone. So thank you, Mayor, for pulling that out of me.
Thank you. Thank you for sharing. We appreciate it when you share.
And I'd never seen Megan swim so fast as she did today.
Okay. All right. I was just wondering, we did have the meeting last night, and I was thinking it would be really good for us as board of directors to have maybe a work session on the water that Bill presented. I don't think everybody heard that, and what's going to happen and what's coming up with a work session, or you can, I don't know if we have time to hear the whole thing you said last night. Would you like a work session on it?
have one.
No, we haven't.
Well, that was the second time I'd heard it. When did we hear that before, that discussion about cutting? You had added some, but you all had talked about, because remember we talked about whether it was on the east side or the west side?
Well, we talked about it during the budget.
Yeah, maybe
Well,
that was it.
I would glad to
Yes, just fill us in real fast.
I was here too.
But it seemed like last night was the first time that you had presented what you presented last night. I don't think you've done that before.
In full, probably so, and I'll try to be brief, but this may be good for our listening public as well. As you know, we have an initiative to redevelop our downtown areas, and one of those entails the property owners making some improvements that may require sprinklers in some of those buildings if they choose to go that route. However, we need to do some work as a city to provide that infrastructure. We have a 16-inch main that runs down the middle of Central Avenue with 6-inch pipes basically that come over to fire hydrants. We need to be able to loop that system so we can take a service line to those buildings that the sprinklers, should they choose to sprinkler a building, can tie into. And what we are designing is either a 10 or a 12-inch. We're still debating which size would be needed through some modeling efforts to come down the parking area on the west side of Central Avenue from Whittington to Mountain Street, from Fountain to Mountain, on the west side of the street. We will also start at the Park Avenue area and come on the east side of the street down to the Arlington. By doing so, we'll have about 2,000 feet of that 10-inch or 12-inch main on the west side, about 1,000 on the east side. It should cost somewhere around about $100 a foot is our estimate. There will be some additional costs and some contingencies. We will be adding 7 fire hydrants on the west side, 4 on the east side, with 1 additional on Fountain around the Arlington area for additional fire protection. The total cost of this, we think, will be somewhere around $350,000 to $400,000 as we finish the project. And again, running those mains to the buildings, we'll be crossing those sidewalks, and those sidewalks have everything from basements, chases, all the improvements that have been done in that particular area, whether it be electric or others. All of that runs under that sidewalk, so we're not sure what we'll encounter in each one of those areas as we come to those buildings. But that's kind of what our plan is, and we plan to start that as soon as possible once we have the designs in place, have it bid out with and see which contractor will be awarded that work, and also permits from the highway department. With that 16-inch main, and the reason we need to add that main is to have those additional pressures. We're already connected to the 16-inch on the Whittington side, on the west side by Whittington. We'll cross back over and connect to that 16-inch in the middle of the road down by Mountain Street, which is down by LaRae's, which will loop that whole system and give us that volume that we need and the pressures we need to be able to accomplish that. That's our goal. The highway department is not going to give us permits to tap into that 16-inch main for every building plus the additional hydrants. That is the reason that we're coming back down the parking lanes and placing in a new main that we can work from. Highway department has right of way from curb to curb. They only maintain the driving portion, and that seems to be what they're most concerned with. So by doing this, we can achieve our goal of getting that infrastructure there so businesses that choose to sprinkler will have that option. Be glad to answer any questions.
You have a question? Anybody? Questions? Appreciate.
Would any businesses, their time to comply with the code begin after the infrastructure was in place?
That particular time frame, the first 6 months is developing a plan, and I believe they have until March 2015 to have that accomplished before they step into the next phase of actual improvements. And our goal is to have this infrastructure in place prior to then.
Thank you.
Okay. Any other questions? Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
That was very good and briefly given. Thank you. Okay, any other announcements? Okay. Immediately following our adjournment tonight, we have a... Wait a minute. It says we'll have a business meeting? This is wrong. There'll be Okay, immediately following, we'll have public comments, and we have someone signed up for that, and we will adjourn and then come right back in just a very few minutes. Do we have a business meeting tonight? There will be adjournment of tonight's business meeting. I got you. Okay, and I will have a motion to adjourn. Is there a second? Sorry. Second. Okay. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, no? Okay, we are adjourned. And those of you who have